jeopardy. I would have thought that our relationship is a little bit stronger than that. I mean, if by raising a question which may not even be, in your opinion, justified, and I kind of can accept that, but surely it shouldn't put a project at jeopardy where such a lot of work has been put in, and the willingness of people outside, namely the chief and Joshua and guys, became interested in what we are doing. I find that a bit harsh, but anyway.
When I remember correctly, I said that I put the project in jeopardy. I said the growing misunderstanding over the past couple of emails seems to put that into jeopardy, because if we don't have a common understanding about Motherland, and the collaboration with the startups was always at the core of it. And if this is not longer the case, then it puts that into jeopardy. This is the understanding.
Okay.
So
then let me comment on that, because I made it quite clear that I didn't say that they have no place at all. But if the startups are part of it from the very word go, then we should actually have defined a startup or two and say they should be part of the conversation, shouldn't they?
As we have always said, we need to first understand what the challenge is, to matchmake the startups that we put into the process and the collaboration with the community. So we can just pick a couple of the startups and say, let's talk to a community, but about what and why? So what is the reasoning on selecting a startup, as long as we haven't defined the challenge yet? And we did that, we make that clear many, many times. And we had this discussion also earlier on, a couple of weeks or months back. And that's why I and Thomas, we were wondering why we are making this discussion up, going back to square one and rethinking everything. So, and I don't know if we have really the time to do so.
Well, you've also seen that part of the reason of for writing the mail was also that I think we right from I mean, there was a language being used that was unbecoming, in my opinion. I mean, there was a certain amount of aggression sometimes brought into play. And so, yeah, look, and as I said, I right from the beginning, I said, I hope you don't mind if I'm open the way I see things. And I think you know me well enough that I'm not here to claim the way I see things are absolutely, that these are the way I see things, that's not necessarily the way other people see things. And if I see something that I think could actually be a detriment to whatever we intend doing, I need to bring it forward. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. Thomas, did you actually download the recording? Because one thing before I even wrote on Saturday morning, I thought, let me first go in and listen to the recording, but I couldn't find it. It wasn't on the page where our weekly recordings are. So I would have preferred to actually go in and listen to it. Like for tonight, I prepared and I listened to nearly an hour to the town hall meeting, simply to see, you know, where we are and how we kind of present our ideas to the outside world, and how open we are to questioning, which we were with Julian. So what I'm trying to say is, as I said, I was quite willing to listen to the recording from Friday afternoon before I wrote the mail. So I wrote, but as I said, it wasn't a way.
I wasn't really online for the weekend, so
Okay.
but I can send the link to Friday's recording in the WhatsApp if you want.
Yeah, look, I would like to. I will definitely spend the time and listen to it. And if I'm off track, then I'm quite willing to express myself differently. Otherwise, I'll stay by what I mentioned. But I think it's fair to all of us that I do that, and I will. It doesn't look like.
So don't get us wrong. So I think it's all good to express about what questions do we have, and the question just was the Friday meeting we had that was on sense making. Was it on sense making on Motherland in general, the approach, or was it sense making on the challenges and the way forward we want to take together with the group? And maybe one part of the problem was that there were people that were not so deep into the discussion before. Yeah, but there was a lot of questioning which came to kind of a surprise to Thomas and myself, that we were not had a hard time to understand. Yeah, and then there were the other emails, and that's why it's good to have a conversation. Yeah, and but we need to ask ourselves, okay, what type of discussions and we are going to have, yeah, and where we are spending our scarce time on to drive this forward.
I would just like to add that that point from the email that Sebastian sent earlier, in jeopardy, refers to not a problem of value misalignment or something, but a problem of a shared understanding. And if by now between us here there is no shared understanding about what Motherland actually is supposed to be, then that's a problem, and that's not a problem we're going to solve in another conversation. And that deep misunderstanding became first visible in that conversation on Friday. And to be frank, I was confused and then shocked at the depth of that misunderstanding. And then there was that feeling was deepened by the other emails during the weekend, and no, I'm unsure about what that means now.
So what? I mean, how? Look, something needs to be discussed in order to get the clarity which apparently at the moment is missing. If we don't do that, then really we have a problem. And I appreciate that you spend a lot of time, but believe you me, so do I, and so does Wayne, and with the limited time he is available. For me, it's a different thing, but I really do spend a lot of time with regards to Motherland.
I believe that.
And I think I've also, in a very constructive way, contributed to where we are today. So I think, again, and you have mentioned that without Wayne and myself, we wouldn't be where we are. And we don't know whether anybody else, at least from the present members, would have been able to achieve that in their respective countries, what we achieved here. So, and because of my kind of engagement, and I had, as I said, a perception after Friday, which I shared with you, which I thought I need to do. But and yet to re-emphasize that I was quite willing to actually have listened to the recording before I wrote the mail, but it wasn't available, so I wrote it the way things were still within me. Now, yeah.
I would love to hear from both of you what you see is Motherland, and in very concrete terms. So what happens now, what happens in 6 months, and what happens in a year, just to be sure that we're on the same page.
To start off with, Motherland was the two of you are the creators, founders of Motherland, coming forward with an idea that you collected through conversations you had with African people. And you defined that the post-harvest value chain within agriculture is possibly the most effective tool for initiating social change. I always call it social change because, like you, I'm not looking at purely at things from I got 5 rand more in my pockets, but
I have a question. Vuyo just wanted to come in. Do we let her in? Because I don't think that is the conversation we should be having with her here, or not.
I think we should have our normal Monday conversations and have a separate one. But let me first, as said, listen to the recording. I come back to you. But I think we shouldn't now close people out. I think that would be wrong.
Then I'll get her in.
Yeah. But then the first part of the recording may need to be cancelled.
Hello, Vuyo.
Still connecting to audio.
Yeah.
Hi, Vuyo.
Hi, Vuyo.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
Hi, Vuyo.
Don't worry. Vuyo, there's a Google Doc from Friday with the challenges. That's Herman, Lorica, and Waynand have put into that doc. Probably it makes sense going through that together, to especially with you, to make sense of them and see which ones are the ones that we should actually be addressing, or which are the ones that's might be the most important ones. Do you have a way to open that spreadsheet, or should I share my screen? Will
Please share your screen. I think it will be faster.
Okay.
Because I'm struggling with network where I am.
No worries. Okay, coming up. So I'll zoom in here. Okay. So I'm gonna read them out loud, and then I think it's we should quickly narrow it down to the most relevant ones. So there's 50% of food loss occurs in agriculture, poor crop quantities, poor crop quality, security issues, monkey baboon problems, market access, trust issues and collaborations, upgrade pack house facilities, and education on plant practices. So
those mainly came from Waynand. The first one was from Herman. And I think it would be good to maybe, we are now in a small group, but probably there are some more to add. And I would also add a column, whether it's a post-harvest or pre-harvest. So I don't want to make a judgment whether pre-harvest topics are also relevant here. Yeah, but we should somehow have a look at it and differentiate.
Okay, I've put my opinion there, whether they're pre or post or both.
Okay.
I agree with that assessment.
Herman, yours is probably post as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the frame of mind we should put ourselves into here is that this is creating the maximum impact on the Wembe community, right? Assuming that the maximum impact for Wembe is also positive for Chivahasi. Does everybody agree with that frame of mind? Okay. So now I'd like to look at these from two perspectives. And I would, Sebastian, I have nothing to contribute here because we have simply no idea. I would love to hear Vuyo. I would love to hear your impression or sense of those challenges regarding, one, the impact it potentially has if it's solved, is that high or low, and two, how easy do you think it can be implemented, regardless of knowing how it can be implemented?
Maybe we should elaborate on whom the impact is high or low. So as we are focusing, strengthening the whole community, we know it's not a community and it still has to be built somehow, but it's the surrounding of the participants around Chivahase, yeah, and the other farmers there, smallholder farmers. And the question is why I'm asking, is it again an impact to Chivahase as a company, yeah, and or for Wembe community?
Yeah, that's what I put that applicable to column C. That's what I've tried to identify there, whether it's Vembe or Chivase.
Yeah. And then maybe there's also kind of a second tier, so to say, trickle down effect or trickle up to Chivahase. Yeah, that maybe on the first step it's applicable to the Wembe community, but in the whole the strengthening of the community will also strengthen Chivahase. But probably this is just a hypothesis, but we should have that in mind when we think about the application.
By the way, I've got a couple of additions to the challenges. I must admit I didn't look into that after I put my 50% down. But for example, there's lack of commercial and administrative skills. But I can, yeah.
Herman, maybe we start on top and you write down just the challenges that you see, and then we can take care of it.
Yeah, Muyo, the stage is yours. So we just need a number for impact and feasibility, and your thought process behind those. Where let's say 1 is low impact and 5 is high impact, and 1 is low feasibility and 5 is high feasibility. So let's start on the top, and I'll put the numbers in for you if you say them.
Okay. Firstly, the monkeys and baboons, they are pre-harvest. They're challenge pre-harvest, and then I don't know if I would say you will help me, Thomas. The main challenge that I think will be a breakthrough is the post harvest, like the drying of the nuts. Like currently, they are trying to produce quality and also to increase the quantity, but the main challenge is after is the dehusking of the nuts and the drying. That's where there's a great loss currently.
Is that upgrade packhouse facilities, or is that separate?
Yes,
Okay.
the upgrade packhouse facility.
So you say that's high impact.
Yes.
Okay.
And then secondly, market access. After where they take their nuts, they are not getting that much, like instead of getting something like 55 rands per kg, they are getting something like 12 rands, 13 rands per kg. So market access. And then from there, I'll say the poor crop quality. And then quantity.
Do I give that the same number, or is that lesser?
I think almost the same. Quality, quantity. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, the food loss in this instance, I think it goes together with the upgrading of pack house. That's why I say during the dehusking and the drying of nuts, that's where they lose a lot of crop.
Okay, so we're gonna, this is connected, you say, so we don't. What are your thoughts on the others, security issues?
With the nuts in the area, it's not that much of a problem compared to commercial.
Okay, so give it a
farmers.
2 or a 1.
With the nuts, not it's only the avocado. Yeah, the avocado farmers are the ones who are having the security issues mainly.
Okay.
The avos in the lychee farmers, yeah, the theft it's a problem to them.
Is that how you write that? Okay. So it's specific to certain crops.
Yes.
What about the baboons?
They are a problem when the nuts they haven't hardened, when they are still green. Once they start hardening, they are not that much of a problem. It's with the nuts, but the other crops, yeah.
So I give it a 2 or a 1, or what would you say?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So the trust issues in collaborating. What do you think about that?
In terms of the trust issues, the main issue was having a pack house on a specific farmer. That's where issues were a problem, but for them to work together, it's not that much of a problem. So the problem is trusting each other with money, the finances. That's the problem. But them working together.
Maybe we should separate that into 2, and have collaboration in work is and finance. Finance, you say, is high. So if solving that would have a high impact, right?
Yes.
And
like for having Tivase Agridem as a hub or yeah, where the pack house will be, it won't be much of a problem because they trust the chief. But amongst themselves, it was a problem.
Okay, so solving that finance and ownership questions, right? solving that would have a high impact, what number would you give that?
If yeah, I'll say 1.
1. Okay. So
I'm
then-
saying 1, considering Baspe as the hub. That's why I'm saying 1.
Okay. Okay.
But the present situation, Thomas, sorry, needs to be rated higher. What were you saying? If Chivase kind of becomes a hub, both for pack house facilities and other things, then things are fine. But at the present moment, that rate's quite high. So the impact, if we solve that, is high. That's what
Okay.
I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Is that right?
I would rate.
Vuyo, do you agree?
Yes, yes.
I
Okay,
would
is that
rate it
5
at least
or
as
4?
4.
Vuyo? Which number would you give? Vuyo, still there?
Give it a 4.
So, Vuyo, are you still there? So is that while we're waiting for Vuyo to come back on, is lack of cooperation the same as trust issues and collaboration?
I brought that in because I asked them, why don't you work together? And I nearly said it's a question they apparently haven't really asked themselves, because they saw the value of that cooperation. If they start cooperating, that they could achieve a lot more than what they are achieving individually. That's why I brought it in. So it's the and I also need to mention the trust issue, because there was another area where there's definitely very little trust. But let's first focus on the lack of cooperation. As I said, I brought it up in the conversation. Why don't you work together? And we kind of, that's when the hub idea came up. And they said, you know what, that would be the answer for a lot of our problems. So how do you want to classify that?
Okay, okay. It's important that Vuyo, are you back? You're
I'm
muted?
back.
Ah, wonderful. Okay. So we decided to give the trust issues about finance and ownership a 4. Is that, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Then let's, because Herman was just talking about it, move to lack of cooperation before we go to the others. Did you hear what he was saying?
No.
Okay. Herman, could you repeat in 1 or 2 sentences so that Vuyo can make up her mind about the impact?
Yes. Do you remember when we spoke to them, even when we spoke to Matiga the day before, and said, are you guys working together? And he said, not really. And the same question we raised on the next day, where Wayne and Lorica were present as well. And again, there was a lack of cooperation, but they also saw a high value if that kind of cooperation would come about. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember. The issue with that one, you will help me with the rating. The issue with that one, it's more of lack of leadership, lack of a strong leader. It was there before I started, and while I was there, I did manage to um, work on it, and there was cooperation. And now what I've heard that since I've left, it yeah, it's an issue. So if the leadership, the strong leadership, I think that one will be solved.
Well, it's also, I think, if I remember correctly, where the idea of the hub came up.
Yes.
The hub as a central point, which kind of, if arranged correctly, would kind of guarantee the collaboration
Yes.
and cooperation. Yeah.
Well, if solved, what number, what impact would you give it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
A 4.
So let's go to education on plant practices. What's the impact?
Currently, there are study groups offered by the different associations. So it's the basic. They offer them the basic. So intense education will also help.
And if you want to put it into context with the others, how strong would that help be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I will say we gave the quality and quantity a 4. I think it goes together with the improvement of quality and quantity.
Okay, so then we'll give that a 4 too. Lack of commercial and admin skills, is that related? It seems related.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that that would go hand in hand with the education. So it's not just education on plant practices, it's education on all of that.
So
Yeah.
if you agree, will you give that a 4 as well?
Yes.
Then we have irrigation or access to water. Is that a big problem?
With the irrigation and access to water in it also improves the quantity, like average. Someone who's irrigating, you're looking at 4 tons and above per hectare, and if in dry land without irrigation it's less than 2 tons per hectare. So it goes hand in hand with the quantity, yes, improvement in quantity.
So you would give it a 4 in that case?
Raynand, I don't know, what do you think? Because the if there's irrigation, most definitely they'll be able to produce more. Raynand, I don't know.
Yeah, I would give it a 3 probably, because yes, with better irrigation, they will get better crops. But then saying that it's also a very high rainfall area, so I wouldn't put it as high as some of the others because they're not going to drastically increase because they're not giving it any water. It's getting irrigation, it's getting rainwater at the moment. It's the education around it that's more important.
That's quite an interesting remark, Wayland, because I put that in actually. Matiga specifically stressed that, and if you remember, he produced 3.5 tons out of 4 hectares. And if he would have irrigation, he would produce 4 tons per 1 hectare. So the improvement is substantial. The only thing I don't know whether it applies to many more of those macadamia farmers or to Matiga specifically. That is something Buyo, I'm sure, could answer.
It applies to everyone, but looking at prioritizing, I think it can, at 3 it's okay.
So do we agree on the 3, or what is the number here?
I would go with a 3. I'd be happy with a 3 as well.
Okay. So proper tools. Tools are missing. Changing that, is that high or low impact?
It goes along with the improvement of quality. The mainly the tools that they need is for spraying, for controlling pests and diseases.
Yeah, the impact on the community also has to be taken into account when you're talking about this topic, because it also, if you start getting too many sort of spray carts and pruning machines and things, that impacts on the employment in your community again, because now you're mechanizing. So it has a negative impact that goes hand in hand with that. That's also got to be taken into account.
Also the health, the spraying.
Yes, yeah.
Poison.
Probably also a 3 or even a 2.
Maria, what's your take?
I'll say 4.
A 4.
Yeah, looking in terms of producing quality nuts.
Okay, so it's a sub topic of producing quality. Okay.
Other tools, like Venant is saying, tools for pruning and other things, I agree with him. That one we shouldn't mechanize to create more jobs.
So to me, this seems, if we cover for quantity, then this could be a sub question, but as a standalone, lack of proper tools is then not a 4, it's more a 3 to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anybody disagrees with 3?
No, sir.
So the high price of electricity, is that an issue, and how big?
Is an issue, but the question is what can we really do about it? It's not something that's going to be a quick impact for a project, unless you're going to put a lot of solar in there. But yeah, I don't know. Even solar increases your risk of theft again in that community.
Let's add that dimension with feasibility. Let's first look at the impact. So if solved, the impact would be high, medium, or low.
Low.
Yeah, in my opinion, low too, for the very simple reason that for example, if they have much higher yields through whatever other improvement, then relatively speaking, the electricity price is not the same issue anymore because the money income is a lot higher.
Okay.
So I would give it a 2.
Julio, do you agree? with that?
It's not so many farmers who are using electricity. I think electricity they use it for irrigation mainly. Most of the farmers they are using the diesel pump for irrigation. So yeah, I'll also say it's low.
Okay, I'll give it a 2 then. So let's look at this from the top. So let's now imagine how hard or easy it is, in your view, Julio, mainly, to solve this. And let's just look at the most impactful points here at the moment. So how hard or easy, how feasible is it to upgrade the pack house facilities? 1 is, that's very easy. 5 is, it's almost impossible.
It depends on the dollars. I'm sorry to say.
So it depends on the dollars. Currently means it's hard.
Yeah, it depends on the dollars, that one.
Okay, so is it a 4 or 5?
Raynand?
Yeah, it is a difficult one. I don't know. I think what Vuyo is trying to say depends on the extent of what you can do. With existing stuff that you already have there, Vuyo, at Chavase, it's easier, but it's going to depend on, is that the hub? Do all the farmers bring their crop to you to do there, or is it something that needs to be done at the individual farms? It can be done relatively
at the hub.
Yeah, relatively. I don't want to say cheap because it's not going to be. It's not about the money, the issue. It's about if we upgrade the facility, it's going to have a huge impact. But what is that feasibility of doing that? You've got some of the material already there. You've got the coffee dryers there for the pack house facilities. You've got the dryers. You've got electricity. So I think the feasibility is really high. You can really make an impact there.
So that means, Thomas, if I understood you correctly, that would be a lower number. You said if we say 5, it's nearly impossible. If it's easy to implement, it would be a lower number. Is that correct?
Then it would be a 1, yeah.
Okay.
I possibly would even go to a 2, but I think that lot can be done even with self-help.
Just 1 second. Okay. Okay, 1 or 2. Market access. So the lower the number, the easier it is to gain that. The higher the number, the more difficult.
Thomas, I think what also needs to be considered, we are determining certain parameters without saying what is the channel to be used. Again, if it's an individual kind of procedure, then it's a lot more difficult. And compared to, let's say, if Chivasi Agridam becomes a hub. That's really something that has a strong impact on most of these things, whether we look at the smallholders individually or we look at them collectively, but working through a hub, e.g. Chivasi Akrida. That definitely impacts, it has an impact on the impact and there's an impact on the feasibility as well. So that's something we should be clear of how we want to look at the whole situation.
So we've always talked about the whole community as a whole.
Yes.
And so it's a shared asset, meaning it's never individual.
Okay.
And if there's a hub and Chivasi is the hub, then it must also be a shared asset for everybody to improve the livelihood of everybody, not only Chivasi. If that is taken into account in that definition of hub, then we can look at it from the perspective of that. Yes.
Market access, I'll say medium. I think it's 3.
Okay. Trust issues in financial and ownership collaborations. How feasible is it to implement? Is it easy, low
1.
number? Sorry?
1.
1. Okay. Education on planting practices.
1. Venand is there.
Okay. Lack of commercial and admin skills.
It goes with education. I would probably say 1 as well.
And then lack of cooperation based on strong leadership / hub.
The very most the 2.
Okay. So let's stop here because everything else has a lower impact, and we want to focus on something with a high impact. So
any after going that through, any wildcards for the lower impact ones? Yeah, because we also need to look at it in a structured way later on. Yeah, so how the different topics interrelate. Yeah, and have maybe a second or even third tier positive impact of one of the others. Probably we cannot cover that all now. Yeah, and we need to make kind of a web how those things interconnect. Yeah, but any ideas for the moment?
Okay. The poor quality, it can be solved with proper tools and access to inputs. So once we solve the market access and they are able to make money, the rest will be easy to solve.
Yeah, I agree. I think focusing on that 5 and 4 in the impact category will naturally lead to a lot of the others being resolved. Security issues that can only be solved with money because they need to put up fencing. The monkeys and the baboons, that can only be solved with money because they need to have people guarding the crops. So yeah, I think focusing on the 5 and 4s, I'd be happy with that.
I need to drop out of this call because I have another group call now. I just made Sebastian the host of this conversation, so you can wrap up in peace. But I have a couple of people waiting for me on the other end.
Okay. Thank
Good.
you.
Thanks.